Hi, my name is Dr. Mark Harvey, and I would like to welcome you to our Global Management class. You can call me Mark, by the way. I am a professor. I am the director of the MBA program here at the University of St. Mary, and I'm the academic advisor for all of the MBA students. So at one point or another, you've probably spoken to me either on an info session or an orientation or another class that you took with me or through some sort of personal advising. So now you know who I am. I am also teaching this class. Now, it's also likely I'll be facilitating this class. If not, you probably have somebody really awesome like Janet Graham, perhaps, helping to facilitate this course, but I teach and facilitate most of them. And this is the first of a lot of videos that you have a chance to watch to learn about global management with me. So, where shall we start? Let's start with my teaching philosophy. My vision is for students to get in touch with their gifts and their passions and use them to serve others. That's the big picture. Now, I know that may not seem to have anything to do with global management particularly, but it's sort of an ongoing vision. It's a picture of what I want my students to look like by the time they're done with the MBA program and maybe by the time they go through their entire career. The mission for me is actually from a quote that I love from Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You might see why that's extremely attractive to an educator. Again, we're talking teaching philosophy in a broad sense, and I want you all to be transformed by the time you finish this course. I know, high order, but it's possible. Transformation by the renewing of your mind doesn't happen without challenge. So you'll be challenged in this very unconventional class. I hope to challenge what you know and especially what you think and feel. I'm interested in creating experiences that will change your life, not a class that just gives you facts. Some of this course is fairly straightforward, right? There's still critical skills involved, right? Writing, speaking, critical thinking. These are all the most important things that employers value. So that's an important component of this course. Now, up to this point, you've learned a lot about management, marketing, finance, a lot of the basics of business from a lot of other courses. And this one comes toward the end. So that is one reason why it is probably the most or one of the most challenging courses in the curriculum. It is a summative course, right? Its purpose in part is to demonstrate what you know. But there is a lot of new material in this course too. And from my experience, students at this level know a good deal about business at this stage, but not as much about the world, global economics, why these differences matter. And finally, I'll argue that this is a challenging course because of the controversial subject matter that we'll talk about every week. There's lots of politics, economics, culture. I mean, it's a minefield, but it will hopefully challenge your mind and may change the way that you think. You are going to demonstrate your knowledge, enhance your skills, and learn about the world through two major vehicles. The first is the global business plan. You're going to learn how to do global business through this process so that you're familiar with business operations abroad. That's a big goal for me, that you kind of learn what it's like to work overseas, but you also learn about how things that you've learned in other courses change when you go overseas. And the global business plan, it's challenging, right? Week to week, you're going to be working on different segments. Not everything is a deliverable every week, but most of the assignments that you're doing culminate in this major project. That means there's lots of research, writing, thinking, speaking, again, ticking all those boxes in terms of those critical skills that employers really value. The second is knowledge about the global environment. I'm hoping through this course to give you knowledge to make executive decisions about global business, right? That's a lot of trade theory, international economics, politics, right? And if there's one thing that students discover, I think, over time, is that the further you get away from the United States, the more different it gets. And it gets different along two major scales. One is culture, and the other is politics. So as a result, and yes, I'm going to borrow this quote, you must unlearn what you have learned. And yeah, you've learned a lot, but things get really, really different the further you get from U.S. shores. So questions that we're going to be answering in this process, right? How does this information you've learned in other classes change when you're doing business in the global environment? What are the tools to understand and interpret what's going on in the world? What do multinational managers know or consider when they make decisions? And then also the way I'm going to deliver this too is by offering different perspectives over the period of this course. Obviously, as I said, there's going to be culture, there's going to be politics, there's going to be economics, but I'm going to give you different perspectives to look at the world. And if I'm doing my job correctly, by the time you're done with that first perspective, you're going to think, wow, that is absolutely true. Totally understand how the world works. That's great. And then we're going to move to another perspective, and then you're going to think the other one wasn't so great because this one's different. And now that I've convinced you of that. And so my goal is not really to tell you what to think, how to think, or anything like that, but to offer some perspectives and particularly some hard facts, and then let you figure out how you might look at the world. I want to say a little bit about some of your resources. First of all, the book is an essential resource. It's not expected that you're going to read every single page of this thing. I mean, it's huge. This is an 8-week course. That's not very realistic. It will be crucial, though, in helping you complete certain assignments, take part in certain discussions. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that and use that as an important resource. The book offers sort of a play-by-play. I'm going to give you color. I'm here to organize that information and try to make sense of it, either through videos and discussions or live in-class interactions to help you, again, organize and try to make sense of all of this information. I also encourage you to check out the resources that exist in Moodle. So if you go to the section that says Objectives, Reading, and Resources, you're going to find that there are additional articles beyond the textbook that might help you with a certain assignment. There are loads of videos in there, specifically ones like this from me. I have a series of videos called Beyond Profit, A Global Perspective, in which I'm teaching people, anybody who wants to learn on YouTube, about principles of global management, aspects of business, politics, culture, all sorts of things. So obviously you could check that out on your own, but these videos are also built into the course. So essentially what a lot of them are me teaching in a classroom in front of people, other MBA students, and so you'll get a sense of what that's about. It doesn't include the discussions or the Q&A, that's kind of unfortunate, but it is sort of a lecture presentation of the kinds of things that I present when I talk to students. And in many ways, I think that information is going to be even more important to you than reading the textbook chapters, because you're going to find information from me that's targeted specifically to the assignments that you have in this class. So where are we going here in week 1? Our theme is assessing costs, benefits, and risks of global expansion. So the content's pretty obvious, but it's also designed to help you get started with your project. You have a discussion forum this week. That's where you're going to engage in a regional analysis using Porter's Diamond. And you're going to write a proposal for your global business plan. You're going to decide what company you will expand. Then you'll compare 2 regions and look at your global competitors and free trade agreements to decide which region you'd like to enter. Let me emphasize region, right? You're not choosing a country yet. That's going to happen by the time you get to about week 3. There's another assignment coming up that you're going to work on where once you've decided on that one region, you're going to choose 3 countries from within that region, compare those, and then ultimately decide where you want to go. You may feel like you're overwhelmed by some of this information that I'm sharing with you. You might feel intimidated at this point. By the time we're done with this course, I'm hoping you're going to feel confident, that you're going to walk away from this thing and say, look, this is something I accomplished and I feel good about that. And part of that, I'm hoping anyway, has to do with our relationship, right? I view myself as a coach. I'm willing to work with you on these skills so that you feel more confident. So as I said, this is going to be a difficult journey, but hopefully a very rewarding one. It's one of my favorite things to teach, one of my favorite things to talk about, and I hope that you walk away from this course with the same kind of passion as I have for this subject. If there's anything that I can do to help out, please let me know. Otherwise, best of luck as you continue on in the course.